All right, so one of the simplest ways to think about whether or not you should be eating a food is in terms of its energy provided when you eat it, nutrients and all that, versus the energy expenditure that it costs to digest it, right? So just like in economics, you have a cost benefit ratio or pro cons list, opportunity cost, things like that. It's actually the same with food. So some things on one side of the spectrum are going to be super nutrient dense and thus provide a lot of energy and be relatively simple to digest and thus have a low energy expenditure, right? Or again, have a favorable amount of energy that it's providing and then a low amount of energy required to process and assimilate it, right? So no one's going to say that something like certain grains or legumes like beans, stuff like that, don't have nutrients in them. They definitely do. But that being said, it takes a hell of a lot of work, a hell of a lot more work at least to digest something like that than it does certain other foods, right? So you might get some nutrients, but the amount of nutrition provided is going to be like this in terms of the amount of energy it took to digest that thing is going to be here, right? And in some cases, there are also anti-nutrients or certain enzymes that potentially could block your absorption of some of whatever nutrients are in that too, right? So all that just to say, you have things on one side of the spectrum like meat or eggs or fruit that provide a high level of nutrition and then a relatively low amount of inflammatory agents, aka energy stealing agents, or energetic requirements from a digestive standpoint. Of course, there are things in the middle, like dairy, and then there are things on the far end of that, which is going to be like legumes, beans, peas, stuff like I already mentioned, right? And this all, just to simplify things and tie it all back, this all slots into my nutrition model you guys have heard me talk about, which is digestion, absorption, and utilization. If you could digest something easily, then you could easily absorb it and then utilize what nutrients it does have in it. Now, doesn't mean that you have to, put a hard no label on some of these other things. It's just that your diet should largely be comprised of things that have a lot of nutrients and are easy to digest. Simple as that. Hope that helped.